Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name is Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, and today we are joined by Simon. Hey, Simon.
Hey there, guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you. As usual, today's episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and ESP Home projects. Configuration is done by the user interface, so no fiddling with the router settings, SSL certificates, or any YAML. All right, Simon, where in the world are you from?
So I'm currently living in Auckland, New Zealand, but I'm originally from Johannesburg in South Africa.
I was going to say it's a very interesting
Nice.
Kiwi accent.
Yeah, bit of a mixture.
Excellent. So I guess, how did you start your home automation journey and how did you get here today, I guess?
Yeah, really good question, Phil. So about a year ago, we moved into a new house, which was a big renovation project. And it started off with my daughter was looking for some of those Wi-Fi smart colored light bulbs for the downlights. So we got a couple of those and installed them and pulled in the 2-year app and started playing around a bit. And I thought they were pretty cool. So I installed a couple more of them. But it was quite frustrating because, first of all, had its own app. And then second of all, if you switch it off at the switch, you sort of lose any functionality. So the next step was I bought an Amazon Alexa and started playing around with that. They were on a special, like $25 each. It was quite a good deal. And started playing around. That was really cool. The voice automation and things or the voice activation was really, really cool. And started looking at a couple of other things that I wanted to do. But I very quickly saw that you were very limited by what would link up to what and what you could do with it. So I started watching a whole lot of different videos on YouTube, all different guys that are producing content around Home Assistant. And there's a Swiss electronics guy that I watch as well. I can't remember what his name is now. But he was talking about Home Assistant, and then I'd seen Dr. Z's and the hookup, and it was probably the hookup that really convinced me. So watched the hookup video. I had an old Raspberry Pi 3, stuck the SD card in, and away I went, and that was it, down the rabbit hole.
I was going to say, are you still running it on the 3 or did you upgrade or?
No. Since then I've upgraded to Pi 4 and SSD. So
Nice.
I realized it was going to take a bit of strain quite quickly. So upgraded pretty quickly and been listening to all your podcasts, which has been really amazing just to get to know all the characters out there.
So how are you finding the Raspberry Pi 4? Like, I've always thought that, I know, and maybe I still have this, feeling of, Raspberry Pi 3 days and SD cards. Has Raspberry Pi 4 been okay in terms of, reliability? Or is there anything that do you think you're going to go bigger than a Raspberry Pi 4?
So the Raspberry Pi 4 is actually really, really good. Compared to the 3, it's a massive difference. So I put it on the 4 and I also bought an A2 SD card, which made a big difference. I then got my SSD upgraded to that. That made a big difference as well. But to tell the truth, I'm waiting for my Home Assistant Yellow. I ordered that.
Nice.
The moment I heard about it, I couldn't resist it. So, but
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So that's the long-term plan.
What are you planning to use the native Zigbee in there and potentially Matter when that comes out, or do you do any Z-Wave or anything like that? So do you need extra hardware? What do you like? I'm curious just because I've heard a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm looking at the yellow. It sounds like you've already put your credit card down or something like that. What do you plan to use with it?
So I purchased the yellow probably about a year ago now, or 9 months ago, quite a long time ago. I don't think I've ever waited for. It's the first one of these starter campaigns that I've ever actually put money down for. And the only reason I did it was that I really trust Paulus and the guys. So I'm going to use the yellow as it is out of the box. I currently use a Zigbee Sonoff USB stick. So it's going to be really cool to have the yellow with the Zigbee built in. and looking forward to the fact that it can use Matter and Zigbee on the same radio.
Yeah.
So I don't currently have any Z-Wave devices. So I'm sort of enjoying Zigbee's really good local control. And the other thing I'm working towards is having all my devices locally, because really, really frustrating. I started off with all these Tuya devices. Tuya integration, frustrating. Tuya local is a lot better, but I'm still keen. I have a lot of Shellys. Those are really good. But yeah, I'm keen to stick local if possible.
Oh, absolutely. Nice. Have you tried the Tuya local integration?
I have. I've got Tuya local running. It's pretty awesome. It's quite a challenging.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, a good mate of mine actually got it working for me in the end. He's using it, and I got it set up. I haven't managed to get the lights to change color or dim as yet, but the basic on-off is working really well. So it's really quick. It's good. It's stable. Yeah, Tuya local is a massive improvement.
Oh, absolutely. I think, the only trouble with it is it's a pain in the ass to get the keys out.
Yeah.
You need to use the terminal commands. So if you're not comfortable, if YAML's too much for you, then doing some of the stuff for Tuya local is going to be even more complicated. Even I struggle sometimes. And then once you do get it configured, there's things like, just as you mentioned there, Simon, like not being able to change the colors of lights, right? Because not every device is exactly the same. I've got, I don't know if you have it in New Zealand, Simon, but we have a brand here called Kogan, and they have a Tuya-based smart kettle. I can integrate the on-off switch for the kettle. That's fine, but there's also the feature of being able to set the temperature. So I can't change the temperature of the water for whatever reason. It's just, not that I ever would want to change the temperature, but if for whatever reason someone accidentally presses 90 degrees instead of 100 degrees on the kettle, then I can only ever, remotely set it to 90 degrees, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that are frustrating.
Do you find, like Phil's mentioned quite a few times before where he's had trouble getting specific types of gear in Australia? So like I think it's Zigbee that you have trouble with, Phil, or is it
Z-Wave is the tricky one. Zigbee's I can use because it's an international same frequency.
Because you can just
Z-Wave
get it
because
from
it's region, right?
Do you have that same problem, Simon? Oh, sorry.
So most of my items have been ordered from China. So certainly the local smart home market, very, very limited. Bunnings has got a few things. So I bought a weather station off Bunnings. I've bought a couple of their Tuya plugs. But if you want Zigbee stuff, you can get the Xiaomi stuff, the Xiaomi sensors. So I've got those little temperature and humidity, and I've got the PIR sensors and things from Xiaomi. But generally, it's much easier just to order off Aliexpress. And I find that delivery at the moment is about 2 weeks. So pricing's good and it works really well.
Nice. Okay, so that's cool. So at least you can still get the gear and
I find that the tricky bit is when it comes to like smart plugs, anything that needs to plug into the wall. So I think we were talking to Rose in one of our episodes, and we were saying, get Zigbee smart plugs or something like that. And there was a few comments on social media about it as well. And I've been looking at AliExpress, and sure, there's a couple, but they're either not as cheap as I would like, or they are more China based. China and Australia and New Zealand have the same plug layout, but I think China's the opposite direction. So ground for us is at the top. I don't think it makes a difference because I've been able to get a Xiaomi smart gateway, plug it in, just turn it around the wrong way, right? And the words are upside down for whatever reason. But there's just like little things like that you've got to watch out for. Also, the Xiaomi smart plugs that you can get, the Wi-Fi and the Zigbee look exactly the same. The issue I have that when we have only 2 pins, so there's a 3-pin plug, you need to actually get I use my wife's earring just to push the ground because there's nothing plugged into the ground on that smart switch, the 2 other pins won't allow you anything to be plugged in. So there's little things like that you have to get around.
I'll tell you what I have come across, which is really cool, is the Athom devices. I don't know if you've seen those. They are pre-flashed with either Tasmoda or ESP Home. And I just ordered 2 smart plugs from them today. They were $13 for 2 smart plugs, Australia New Zealand plug with a ESP home flashed on it already, which is really, really good.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's a good price too.
The only problem I have with that is it's still Wi-Fi. Right? I'm trying to avoid anything extra on my Wi-Fi for whatever reason. I would rather it be Zigbee or Z-Wave. Just so that, if I ever change my Wi-Fi password, I have to update it. And I've always had that thing, right? Yeah. Like the consumer Wi-Fi is not going to have the ability to have, more than 50 devices. So, yes, I've got a couple of access points and I'm running, not standard stuff. But the last thing I want is to overload my Wi-Fi devices and then my Netflix struggles because I've got too many smart plugs plugged in reporting energy, right? So...
Yeah. I was quite lucky. I came across a really cost-effective Wi-Fi router that handles 200 devices. So, that's working really well. It's called a Dynalink ASX 3600.
Nice.
And it was pretty cheap. It was like $200 or something shipped from Amazon in the States. And I've linked that up and it's actually worked really, really well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess you've got the 2 stuff. And you've got some Xiaomi stuff. So that's Zigbee, I'm guessing. So are you using like a Zigbee hub, or you've got that like a USB stick to get Zigbee on there into Home Assistant?
Yeah, I originally had the hub that came with the Xiaomi, and for some reason it connected the first time, but then for some reason it started going offline, and then it totally disappeared and wouldn't connect again.
Okay.
So I bought the Zigbee. Sonoff Zigbee USB stick 3.0, and that's been awesome. Very cheap.
Yeah.
Plugged it in. It's really easy to pair the devices while you bring it along. Press the little button, and it just links up and it starts communicating and things. And I'm really impressed with that.
Nice.
And does that integrate with ZHA in Home Assistant, or is that more like you got to use Zigbee to MQTT or something like that?
No, I've just got it basically plugged straight into the Raspberry Pi, and then I just downloaded. I'm not sure if it might be a Hex integration, but super easy. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Nice,
really straightforward.
That's cool. What cool stuff are you doing with all these smart things now? Like, what are your like? We always like to ask what are your favorite automations, things like that. So like just. What, I don't know, what's the coolest thing you're doing?
So one of the cool things that a lot of people have been really interested is measuring my water tank. So I'm in a semi-rural part of Auckland called Beachlands, and we run off 2 big 22,000 litre water tanks. Basically just pull rainwater off the roof. And before that, I was always going up, lifting up the thing and putting a stick in. I'm trying to see. Yeah. In summer, it's like pretty frustrating because you're running out of water and you want to order water and then the trucks are all backed up. So I found this. I looked at a couple of options. So first of all, a lot of people are suggesting you could use a Sonic, one of those little Arduino Sonic sensors.
Yeah, it like sort of measures the distance to the ground, right, based on the water level. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. But it looked to me like it wasn't going to be really long-lasting in that damp environment. So I went on Aliexpress and I found these. It's like a stainless steel tube, and it's got a little sensor of some type, diaphragm or something inside it. And basically you power it up on, I think it's 12 volts, and it then pushes back a voltage back up to the device at the pump. So I'm using a Shelly Uni, which has got an analog to digital input. So basically, I bought the 0 to 5 volt. I should have actually bought the 0 to 10 volt to get a little bit more voltage out of it, but it's reading between 0 volts and 1.6 volts, which I've then just brought in as a gauge into my Home Assistant. And that's really awesome because at any stage, I know how much water I've got in there.
Nice.
So that's really cool. I'm thinking of doing some more automations around sort of actually working out how much water I'm using. I've then got a Holman Aspect rain gauge and weather station that tells me how much rain there's been.
Yeah.
So I was looking at doing some sort of automation, like working out how much water I've got, how much has come in, how much I'm using, and then sort of send me a message either on my mobile phone or on Alexa text to speech or something, telling me I need to order some more water. So that's a really cool one. Works very, very well. So
how do you translate or how do you know what the voltage is compared to like a percentage? Right? So if you're going, my tank is 0% or 100% full, how do you know what 0% is and what 100% is?
So currently I don't even bother with that. Basically, I just bring it as a voltage straight into a gauge, and then I just set the gauge from 0 to 1.6, and then I put in the colors. So I put a little gauge indicator and I select the colors. So currently I've got a green, orange, or red. So as it goes down, I can see, because I don't really mind what the percentage is as long as I can see on the gauge how full it is.
That makes sense, yeah.
So essentially 1.6 is 100%, and then everything under there is whatever percentage of that 1.6.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Are the tanks close to the house, so are they constantly powered through the mains, or have you needed to use like solar panels or a battery out there to get power to that device?
No, there's a power plug there already in the pump box because you've got to pump the water back up to the house. So basically I've just got a little 12-volt power supply powering the Shelly. And the Shelly Uni is actually a really cool little device. I don't know if you guys have played with it, but it basically offers the analog to digital conversion. You can run 3 temperature sensors or 1 temperature humidity. You've got 2 binary input sensors and 2 output relays as well. Well, not relays, but low power output switches, all in one tiny device.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty neat.
I think everyone's going with Shelly stuff now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, Shelly's awesome. It can be fiddly. I've had 1 or 2 issues with connecting the Shelly ones sometimes to my network, but once they're connected, they're just rock solid, man. I tell you, I've got a lot of time for Shelly.
Those readings that are coming from the Shelly, they're coming in via Wi-Fi, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So this is the other benefit of the Shelly Uni because it's got it's got like a pigtail aerial. So it actually gives you much more range because I was playing with the SP32s, just the little chips, and they've got the little aerial etched into the board. But I found that the actual Wi-Fi signal wasn't strong enough to reach to the pump because it'd be about 20 meters or so away from my router. So the Uni's got an external plug-in antenna, and the antenna actually gives you quite a lot of extra range. And I'm assuming you could actually bump it up to a bigger antenna if you wanted to as well.
Interesting. I didn't actually realize it had external antennas on the Uni. So that's actually kind of cool. So even if you put it inside a metal case, something, you can always again stick the antenna outside, right, and still.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So it's an awesome little device. I think a lot of people haven't considered them because they look a bit funny because it's just the board on its own. There's no casing or anything. But I'm super impressed with those Shelly Unis. They're just really great.
So there's no casing on them. How are you housing them?
So my favorite house is a lunchbox. You know, those little click-clack type lunchboxes that you get. That's
amazing.
Because I haven't got a 3D printer. So
I was going to say, you can always 3D print one as if I have a 3D printer, which I don't. So that's pretty nifty. Again, it's cool. I've seen people do like Lego. I've seen people do, I don't know, all kinds of like Altoids cans and like that kind of stuff, right? The tins, whatever. So
yeah.
That's funny.
So another cool thing that I did was Home Assistant Glow. That's really, really cool because I wanted to see my power consumption. So I built the little Home Assistant Glow, and it's a very, very cool project. It's literally like less than $10 to build yourself a sensor to read your power coming in.
That is pretty neat. Yeah, I think we've talked about Glow maybe once on the show, Phil. I don't remember, but yeah, I do remember hearing about it, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually kind of cool." Maybe I just read it. I don't know if we actually talked about it, but it is pretty cool.
It works very, very well. It sometimes throws out an odd reading, but 90% of the time, it's working extremely well.
So I guess you've got your water tank done through Shelly. Are you doing anything else with Shelly?
Yep. So I've got a Shelly Dimmer in the lounge. That's really good. I've got 6 downlights in the lounge, and Shelly Dimmer works great for that. I've got Shelly's running my outdoor garden lights. So I've got just normal 12-volt little garden sort of spotlights that I've got both at the front and the back garden, and those are really cool. It's just got a simple automation, and that's probably one of the most useful automations. It's just having your external lights on the house coming on at sunset, and then I normally switch them off around 10 p.m. So it's just so nice to know that you get home, the house is lit up, and everything works. Yeah, so that's the Shellys. They really probably one of my favorite products.
That's cool. Yeah. You're pretty in the Shelly ecosystem, eh? Sounds like.
Yeah. I just found it so simple, easy to install, doesn't give you, never disconnects basically. I've never had a Shelly drop off.
Again, on the show, we hear Shelly all the time and nothing. I don't think we've had one person be like, yeah, it's okay. Or like anything
I'm getting
worse
rid
than
of
that.
it. I hate it, right?
Yeah, like everybody loves it. So it's, which is, I mean, I'm glad there's a product like that, right? Which people can rely on. It's local, so on and so forth, right? So.
Yeah. And I installed a Shelly EM at a mate of mine's place. He had a $600 Powerball. So he wanted to find out where all his power was going. And he didn't have a flashing LED on his power meter, so we just ordered a Shelly EM, and that was super easy install as well. Works really, really well. So they are really, really great products, the Shellys,
Yeah.
So, all right, so you've got Shelly, and you've got some Zigbee stuff. Where, and you mentioned before, so using the Amazon Echo for voice control, how many people in the house are needing to use your home setup, I guess? And have you had to make any adjustments for them?
So there's so there's two of us, just my wife and myself. And so presence detection for me is a big thing. I wanted to install a Lamo, so I've got that loaded up. And
great custom integration.
The problem I have
is awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Very well done. So I've got a Lamo, and I've got some cameras on the outside, some Reolink cameras. And my thing was that I wanted a Lamo to basically arm and disarm as I come or leave the house when both of us are away. So I've got my phone all up and running, basically sensing when I'm away, sensing when I'm home and everything. But my wife's phone, unfortunately, she's got too many apps, too many photos or something, and she doesn't want to get more apps loaded up. So at the moment, I'm limited by that. So
I can relate.
I'm trying to find another. Yeah. So that's my issue. But I actually saw one of the guys did a video the other day using an NFC tag. So just tapping when you arrive home and tapping when you leave to set the alarm. So I just ordered myself one of those NFC tag kits, and I'm going to try using an NFC tag reader as basically when you arrive home, tap the tag. It looks like quite a great idea.
It's a great idea. The issue is encouraging people to tap. I've had a proof of concept. This is way before Home Assistant did the ESP Home NFC tag readers. I had an old Android Samsung phone, and we were living in an apartment at the time, and I thought, I'll just do a proof before I try and do some more hardware for this. I'll do a proof of concept. So my wife and I had some wristbands from one of the local pools around here that had an NFC chip for the locker. So I was like, oh, cool. We'll do something like public transport, right? Like you tap your card on, you tap your card off, right? Easy.
Yeah.
No, not so easy. The problem is I would remember to come in, tap, that I was home, then I'd leave, tap off. But my wife would, forget to do either one. Yeah. So she'd get home and be like, why does the TV keep turning off? Why aren't the lights turning on? Or when she leaves, I'd know that she's at work, and I'd look at the house, log in and see, oh, cool, the lights are on, the TV's been left on.
Yeah.
The house thinks you're home. Like, what's going on? So if you can solve that problem, then you might be okay. Maybe you need a siren. I didn't want to get a siren because I lived in an apartment. That was my next, and I thought, okay, I'm escalating too far. So presence is, I think, the only option I've got at the moment is just to get the Home Assistant app somewhere and install that. But that's my cautionary tale for an NFC tag sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was keen to try ES Presence, but I haven't managed to get that quite working yet. That looks quite awesome. I've also got an August smart lock at the front door. So that's quite nice because you can see if the door's open or closed, and you can use that to run automations and things. Only issue I have with the August is that it chews up the batteries using the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's pretty hungry.
I actually really like Alamo. I have an electricity box on the outside of my house. So you know, that's my Achilles heel. If anyone ever finds my house, right, they just go up to the electricity box and flick the mains breaker and everything goes down, right?
It's a kind of dumb place to put it.
Yeah, right. And there's no lock on it because you can't put a lock on it because, you know, the electricity company needs to be able to get into it and read the meter, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to put a door sensor on the electricity box, and I've got a new area in Alamo set up. So if I'm home and the sun is up, that will be disarmed, so I can open and close the box and I won't get an alert. But, you know, at nighttime or if I'm away, you know, I'll have that set as armed away. And as soon as someone pulls the box open, Home Assistant gets that pretty quickly, and will send off a trigger, I'm assuming through Twilio or something, give me a phone call to say, hey, someone's just opened up your electricity box, time to see what's going on, sort of thing.
I'd be curious to see how well that works with that much current running through around there. Just again, and I'm just thinking in terms of any like electromagnetic leakage or anything like that, right? Any EMI in that?
Interesting you say that, because sorry, Simon, we are digressing a little bit here.
No.
Literally, I have a Z-Wave door window sensor on the front door, which is right next to this electricity box, right? And it is the only, and I have Z-Wave smart switches around it. So there's like literally right next to it. That front door sensor is the only one that will randomly stop reporting its state. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's the electricity box being right there that's causing the radio issue.
If it's a little far, like if it's a meter or two away at least, it shouldn't be that much of a deal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think,
pretty close.
Unless it's that close and your power is that.
Yeah, maybe I need to
leaky. I don't know.
Probably so I've drilled into that front door now and put the sensor in properly. I don't want to try another protocol and have to re-drill and all that.
But are you planning on putting the things on the inside, the sensors on the inside of the box?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it a metal box?
No, it's a wooden box.
Okay. Okay. Because I was gonna say,
if it was a metal box, no. Lucky it's just a wooden box. So we'll see how that goes. But I also have a Ring camera right next to it. So as soon as someone enters my driveway, they're going to get video recorded into Ring anyway. But it's more of a peace of mind of, you know, actually what are they doing sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I digress there. Alamo is great. I've set up a whole, so I've got the electricity box is now its own zone, and I'm toying with setting up my office and my garage as separate zones as well. So you can have alarmed night as well. So you can have things like the lights will be a dim when the alarm panel is armed in night mode. There's cool little things that I've always, you know, I like alarm panels for, because you can sort of tell the state of the house based on what state the house is in. Yeah. Right. Same for vacation, right? Yeah. If the alarm panel is in vacation mode, then activate vacation light times, like nighttime scenes and lights and all that.
Do you have a panel, Simon, that you use, or how do you control Alarmo? Maybe mention that. I don't remember. Okay.
No, not as yet. I haven't actually activated Alarmo yet. I'm just playing around with it. So I do have an NS panel that I'm playing with. So I was thinking the NS panel might be something. So currently I'm just running it with the Sonoff integration, which is very flaky, I must admit. But when I get the courage up, I'm going to be flashing it with ESP Home. And I see then there's a whole heap you can do with the NS panel in the way of creating alarm panel, whatever you like. So I think that's quite a cool option. I've seen some people saying it's not that easy, so you can ruin your NS panel. So it's a little bit of I'm waiting for it to get a bit older before I start fiddling around. But I was thinking that could be
that's
quite
actually
cool.
Really cool use of a NS panel too.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of opportunity. I see they've just released the NS Panel Pro. So that's going to be interesting. It's a little bit different. It's got a Zigbee built in, and I think it's running. It's not an ESP. It's actually got a full processor. I think it's running Android or something in there. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to perform and what it's going to cost. I'm expecting.
Well,
it's
on the
going to
other
be
side of
quite
it too,
expensive.
how easy is it to modify? Right? Like, I mean, an ESP home is, or an ESP 32 or the like can just be flashed with ESP home on it, right? If it's an actual like ASIC or processor that they use on there for a specific thing, then you know, how do you get to that, right? So until somebody writes some piece of code for it, so
exactly. No, the people will be out there doing it quickly, I'm sure. Doesn't seem to take the community long to start hacking.
Not at all.
Another cool thing I did was build a CO2 sensor recently.
You built a CO2 sensor?
Yep. So I did some research on different options off Ali, and a lot of guys were recommending a thing called the MHZ19 sensor. So it uses a infrared light. So it's a little gold box, and it's got a light inside that shines and reflects off a mirror and back. And apparently CO2 absorbs infrared light. So it's got a light sensor on the other side, and based off the amount of light that it's receiving, it will calculate the amount of CO2 in the air. So I hooked that up to ESP Home with an ESP32, flashed it over. All the software is available there. And that is amazing. Like, we play with a lot of sensors. We've got these little ones that we play with, but very difficult to integrate those into Home Assistant because no one's written an integration. So, and these are like $350. So I built one for $40.
Yeah,
pretty cheap.
That's pretty good.
And it works really cool.
How do you verify that it's working correctly, though?
Well, I've got this one, which is I can calibrate it with, and plus it's got a calibration setting.
What?
So you can move it to a fresh air and then press the button or send it a pulse, and it will then reset to the 400 that it's supposed to be at with fresh air.
What was the sensor you just held up? It's
called this is called an Aranet 4. So it's a little e-ink display with a really good quality sensor inside, battery powered. It's got a little app. Our company in Germany basically has given us directive to go around to different hotels and things and measure CO2 levels at the moment. So I've been doing a whole campaign on LinkedIn. I managed to measure 7,000 parts per million in a spin class the other day.
That sounds safe.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
real safe. And that's a modern 3-year-old gym. You know, it's all fancy and air conditioned, but no ventilation.
And so you're using that in the house? Like, have you got plans to, what sort of automations would you be doing behind that, just as a safety measure, like make sure the gas heater's not going to kill you, I guess? Or
so it's all about basically measuring how much CO2 is in your building. So, for example, at night in the bedroom, if you close the door and the window, it'll quickly build up to about 2,000 parts per million. So my plan long term is to build some sort of a ventilation system so that once it hits too much CO2, it's going to start replacing the air with fresh air with a heat recovery ventilation system. That's the idea.
So how would you, and that would, I'm guessing, will all be integrated into Home Assistant, right? So, and Home Assistant, of course, right? And Home Assistant will be the brands, right? Like, the brains behind it, like you're going to have, automation sees that the CO2 is this level, all right, kick on the cleaning of the air this way.
Yeah, exactly. Pull in some fresh air, get rid of the old stale CO2. So it's a really good monitor of air quality. So it can tell you, what sort of ventilation levels you've got, and just prompt an automation to get rid of that old CO2 air.
That's actually pretty handy. I mean, it at the end of the day, it is kind of important for us, for our health too, right? So, is it required? No, but is it nice to have? I think it is. That's kind of cool, right?
I love sensors. I like to sense everything. I love my weather station.
Sense everything, graph everything, right?
Yeah.
Do you do any
totally
recording of your data and like logging and graphing, et cetera, et cetera?
Not at this stage. I did actually download
Grafana,
one of the, I think Grafana. Yep, I did put Grafana on at one stage, and I think on the Raspberry Pi 4 it was using quite a lot of data and processing. So I did actually disable it because I think it might have been slowing it down a bit. So I'm hoping with the yellow I'm going to have more opportunity and see where that goes, because I really like the idea of being able to create really cool graphs.
If anything, at that point you can repurpose the Raspberry Pi as a dedicated kind of logging box or Grafana box, right?
Well, the Raspberry Pi's got another plan. I've got a plan. I want to install Frigate. I want to do some AI, because I've currently got a rear.
This is what you've been waiting for. Someone's going to do
it. That's right.
I've got a rear-link camera, and it's supposedly got AI, but it's pretty rudimentary. So I've done some research, and I found this thing called the Google Coral. I don't know if you've seen it.
I was going to say, but they're next to impossible to get.
Now listen to this story. So they're $550 on Ali and Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Plus shipping and tax. So one of my members of my group texted me on Friday to say that RS Components, who's in Penrose right up the road here, is selling them for $98 each.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. So I immediately placed an order, 7-day delivery.
I love RS
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Interesting. I'd be interested to see if it actually shows up, because there's been a lot of just a lot of we have inventory and they don't, right? And so I'd be interested to see. I think it was on the Home Assistant Facebook page. I just saw somebody was like, "I got a Coral," and everybody was like, "Whoa." How, right? And they're like, I forget who they bought it from. It may have been even the same company you mentioned. And people were like, I ordered some from way back when and from the same company, and I never got it, and blah, 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 right? So it's like, I don't know. There's apparently a lot of sketchiness happening with vendors selling the Google Coral, right? So
really?
I'd love to know if you actually get it in 7 days. But again,
I'll let you know.
Yeah, somebody on Facebook, or I think it was Facebook or Reddit maybe, but they had one, right? And they're like, "Hey, here it is. This is kind of cool, right?" And everybody's like, "That is, like what? How?" So
I've watched some of the videos on it. It looks so awesome, man. You can point it and it'll tell you that's a cow and that's a cat, and it looks incredible. Eh?
I think depending on what you're doing too, if you're not doing a ton, you may not even need it potentially, because then it'll just hit CPU, right? But again, that's assuming you're not doing a ton. If you are, then it's probably not going to be the best. But but the nice thing is the Home Assistant Yellow also has a spot where you can put something like a Coral in there, right? So
because it's just USB, so it looks like a very cool little device, I must say.
Well, I think the Home the Yellow can take it in as is it M.2? I think I want to say it is.
Something like that.
Where it can accept
expansion port.
Yeah, accept a Coral. So might be even easier than at that point where you don't need a dedicated box running Frigate, right? If you have it as a container running on the Yellow or something like that. So.
Do you have any particular plans, also anything that you're looking at trying to track with your cameras? Like, you're looking for a specific person, a specific thing? Do you want to know when the cat's running across your driveway? What are you trying to get out of using Frigate?
So I just want to get better camera detection. So I'd find it very frustrating that, you've got all these cameras running and they are, as I say, this rear link's supposed to tell you if it's a person or a vehicle or a dog or whatever. It doesn't really work. So that's the main thing, is to have it set up so that it can, first of all, tell if there's a person in my back garden, or it can tell me going down the one at the front, can actually give us an idea of recognizing people's faces and stuff like that. So that's the general idea.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Cool. I have a rear link solar powered one, which is great through the app, but because it's solar powered, you can't run streams of data from it going into like a Frigate or an NVR somewhere. So I think hardwired cameras are in my future at some point.
Yeah, I'm quite lucky. My house has sort of got all these cavities. It's like got a 2-level. So I've actually got a cavity on the side of the house. It's quite convenient. You can climb in there and run the cables and
that's
stuff.
nice.
So yeah, so I think it's an old house. It's good. It's actually got it's got phone cables throughout as well. So I was watching another video. It's a 4 twisted pairs, and I believe you can actually convert that over to a 100 megabit Ethernet cable.
Yeah,
basically just by swapping
Yeah,
the
because
plugs.
it's all just wire in the end of the day, right? Yeah.
A lot of even here, a lot of contractors now, when they're putting in phone cable, they actually just use UTP, right? Like unshielded twisted pair cable, where it's an Ethernet cable, and they just use one pair, right? Instead of, or 2 pairs, whatever phone uses, instead of actually all 4 pairs. So you just swap out the faceplate and pop in all 4 pairs, and bam, you got an Ethernet port.
Yeah. Another thing I'm quite enjoying is the whole audio focus of Home Assistant. And what I've done, I'm actually using a Google Chromecast, and I've got the HDMI out from the Google Chromecast running into my home theater amp. So that's quite cool. You can basically trigger from Home Assistant any audio, either loaded locally on the Home Assistant or other audio. You can actually trigger directly through there, and gives you really good quality. It's HDMI in. Amazing.
Have you tried playing with Music Assistant or any of the other new music features that Home Assistant launched a couple of releases ago? I guess last release, technically, at the time of this recording. Yeah,
it was. I think it was the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm keen to try that. I've downloaded the Hex music one. Yeah, I haven't actually installed it as yet, but yeah, I'm pretty keen to try that.
Yeah, as I was watching it, I'm like, this is cool. Downloaded it, installed it, did absolutely nothing with it, as expected. I'm like, well, again, a few years ago, I switched to entirely streaming, right? And I was like, okay, whatever. So I don't have any local music just to even test with, whatever. So I'm like, I know it does accept like different streaming services and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I just haven't done it, right? And it's just like, oh, okay, I'll get to it eventually, but not a priority either there, right? So it's like, but it's interesting. I haven't talked to anybody. I know there are people out there using it. I haven't talked to anybody that are, though. I'd love to hear their experience. So,
yeah, I was watching a couple of the streams. I watched Dr. Z's did a stream on it, and obviously Paulus and them did it. And I think the limitation seems to be with the ESP that the sound quality is not that great. It seems to be most of the challenges at the moment is that the actual quality of the sound wasn't that great.
Yeah, even with the some of the pre-made ones, I've heard that they're great for what they are, and they're great for the cost, but they're not like, it won't be like Sonos quality or like something like a more premium brand would get you, right? And I don't know if that's a limitation of the ESP home the ESP chip inside it, or if it's a limitation of just how people have implemented it, right? Could be either.
So are you using any form of touch panels or anything? How are you usually driving Home Assistant around the house when you need to do any overrides or anything like that?
So currently pretty much just using the phone, just using the mobile app. Seems to work really well. I am keen. I've got the NS panel, which is going to be, once I can get it flashed, that's going to be, there's one guy I found that's doing amazing videos on that. He's from Europe somewhere, and he's created some really, really cool graphical interfaces on that little panel. I quite like the idea of the size of the NS panel and just the fact that it just fits into a standard plug switch or light switch, rather than it's sort of, it's quite cool to have a big panel, but it's a bit fiddly to actually get it set up properly sitting on the wall. I've used TVs to display the content, but if you actually want to have a touchscreen with feedback, I wouldn't mind doing a tablet at some stage, but yeah, it's another project I haven't got to yet.
I can imagine.
Well, I like the concept of the NS panel just because typically with the wall tablet, especially to make it nice, you want to run extra cabling and you want to do all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here, like essentially you got to cut the wall, drill holes, whatever. With the NS panel, you just use an existing wall plug and go pop, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I that appeals to me rather than having to, cut, run wire, run a plug, et cetera, right? So,
and the panel itself is it's reasonably responsive. And I think there's some really good opportunities if you can get the flashing to work. I mean, there's some good video tutorials showing you how to do the flashing. So it's just a matter of, I'm just trying to decide, should I solder the wires on? Is it going to be enough to just put the little pins through and hold them nicely while it's flashing? Because I've flashed heaps of ESP32s and stuff with, with ESP Home and Tasmota and things like that. That's super easy, but it's just, when you've bought something for $120, you don't want to really blow it up.
No, you don't want to brick it, right?
No,
That's the last thing you want to do.
So I did ask the AliExpress seller if they'd send me a separate control board if I blew it, and they sort of didn't respond.
No, my best response from AliExpress was, you are very smart. You plug the wires in the wrong way around. We'll send you a replacement unit. To which I'm like, hang on. The unit, it doesn't work like that. If I plugged them in the wrong way around, it wouldn't have turned on completely, right? So don't blame me for it burning out. Sorry.
Well,
but I do appreciate them you calling you stupid in writing.
Yeah. Some of the comments they make are hilarious.
Oh, it's so good.
I tell you who was really good, Atham. When I first bought I've got an Atham 4-gang switch, touch switch. And I was really impressed. They sent me one, and it was just really janky. It didn't work properly. So I told them, and they sent me another one. Didn't work properly. Sent me another one. So it was really quick and easy, and I was really impressed. I think Atham is a great brand, and I think it's a really, really cool idea to have locally flash stuff. And so, I was really impressed with their customer service.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. And where'd you get them from? Like you say, were they the brand you got from Bunnings or?
No. So Atham I bought from AliExpress. That's
gotcha.
The one I got from Bunnings is the Grid Connect stuff.
Yeah, the Alec one.
The Alec,
I got the same, like the power board, the 4-way power board that can be controlled. Yeah. Just, I mean, I like it. It's just Wi-Fi, right? Just no,
Wi-Fi. But I'm impressed with the weather station. I got the Holman Aspect weather station from Bunnings, and that ties in with the Wonder Weather Underground app. So you link it up, tie it into the app, and then there's a Home Assistant HACS integration. And man, that works really cool because I'd ordered myself the 433 megahertz, those little radio dongles that you buy.
Yeah.
So I was going to try and fiddle around with that, but I got the HACS integration working, and it's just super cool. No problems at all.
I've also seen at Bunnings there's a Holman irrigation controller, which I believe is Bluetooth, and I think I've seen a HACS integration for that as well, which I think will be in my life in the future, maybe if I.
HACS is awesome, man. I tell you, the stuff. I like the the BLE Bluetooth integration one as well. So I've got some of those Xiaomi temperature sensors. Yeah. And I've got the BLE HACS integration working, so that pulls them in. Just the range is quite limited, but you can extend the range by setting it up on a ESP32 and just plugging that in somewhere, and then you can bounce it off there.
I know we talked about presence before. I was going to say something before about presence. You mentioned you tried ESP presence. Have you tried Room Assistant?
No.
So Room Assistant I have on one of the computers here. It's very similar to, it just uses Bluetooth. So it's just constantly scanning for any Bluetooth device that it can see. And it just, when it sees that signature or sees that back ID, it says, okay, yep, this device is home, right? And if you run multiple instances of Room Assistant, depending on which one is closer, it will then say, okay, this phone or this tag is in this room based on, it's further away from this device, so it's closest in this room. I use it to track some tile, like the Tile Pros, of those little trackers that you can get. I've got one in my wallet, one in my wife's wallet. I've got one in the car, one in my daughter's change bag. And then I can see based on, because I find the Tile app takes a while to update the GPS position. And depending on my wife's phone, it may not update if she's got like battery saving mode on.
Right.
But with the Bluetooth, as soon as the tracker gets home, it's instant. It knows, okay, this Tile tracker is home, this person is home. It just does mean that, sometimes my wife doesn't take her wallet with her, which then means I need to come up with some Bayesian probabilities of whether, depending if the car's away and my daughter's away and the phone is not detected, it gets complicated, but at least that might be another option if you're looking for, I guess if you've got like an Apple smartwatch, it might work well, if you or any smartwatch, if you're constantly wearing it, then you can scan who's in this room based on where their watch is.
Yes, I've got one of these smartwatches, so I might try and see if that's going to be able to connect in. I did get some of those little Apple AirTags, but I understand that Apple AirTag, you can't really, there's no really good integration to get that working.
Yeah, Apple's really privacy conscious on those, right? So
yeah, but I feel like I haven't tried it, but if it's still BLE based, right, it should still broadcast BLE. That's all it's doing.
Unless they're randomizing that MAC address. Which I suspect they would.
Yeah. Apparently Apple does that, yeah.
Yeah, but in a device that small, I would think it needs a little more brains than that. But yeah, you might be right. That's a good thing to check out.
Yeah, apparently that AirTag's actually got quite a lot of brains in it. But I was even thinking of installing Apple HomeKit, because I saw in video someone else did an Apple HomeKit integration into Home Assistant, and then they did the presence with HomeKit and then created a Boolean to go between the two.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. But then isn't HomeKit just Wi-Fi based as well, I think? Because it doesn't use its own radios. So, but I guess it is local, which is...
Yeah, it's local, yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's Apple...
But Apple is working on Matter, though, so...
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Matter looks really cool. I enjoyed that Matter workshop they did the other day. That was awesome.
Yeah. The other thing you can look at too, and I don't know why I remember this one specifically, but I think we talked about this in like one of the very first episodes we did, but it's called Happy Bubbles, which is the same kind of deal as what Phil said.
I think they're gone now. From memory, I think they closed down.
But I think they did. But I think their software is still available.
Right.
Now, how recent it is? I mean, the latest release is 2018, so might not be the best. But I think they had actually. I thought they had open sourced their hardware too, but maybe I'm wrong. But I wonder if there's somebody else that may have taken over that project or done something like that, right? But yeah, I just thought they were really cool because they had custom hardware that was basically... They
had like little dongles that you carry, like presence dongles that you carry around yourself, right? Like, just say, hey.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were presence detectors, right? So I think those are ones you put in... just in rooms, right? So you just stick those little things, and I think they get because they're older, right? It's again defunct project, but it's ESP 8266 based, and they had it was like a little circle that was just a little bit bigger than the ESP 8266.
Simon, are you using any presence detectors in your rooms, like motion sensors, I should say? Sorry.
Yep. So I've got some PIR Xiaomi sensors running through to my Zigbee hub. And
are they the new ones?
They're just those tiny little Xiaomi ones.
Have you seen the new ones?
No.
I really want one. So they are, I think they're called the PR1. They've got like a code name. It's really hard to get them outside of China at the moment. I believe they're Zigbee based, but they're not just motion sensors. They detect like human body signals. So if you're sitting still, I guess it can detect that based on your body heat that you're still in the room. So it solves the problem of, you're reading a book in a corner and you're not moving, which just happened to me 5 minutes ago, and the blind started going up while we were doing this recording. And so it will know that someone's in the room still and detect and report this room is occupied.
It's a presence sensor rather than a motion sensor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Motion is, I think they're very similar, but a presence sensor just is a lot more granular. So like micro kind of movements, right? Rather than large scale, like, hey, I'm waving at the
100%.
at the sensor.
That looks really cool, I must admit. I've actually seen a couple of videos on those. But honestly, my PRs are working awesome, eh? They're really, really very responsive. No issues at all, eh?
I have some Z-Wave motion sensors, and I don't know, they just seem to, I don't know if it's Z-Wave in general or if it's just the time that the sensor needs to wake up, but I find like I could walk into a room and I'd be halfway through the room and then the lights come on, sort of thing.
No, these are instant, eh? They're tiny and they're so small as well. They're really neat little.
Yeah, that's it, right?
And the battery life's amazing. I've got some buttons as well. I did a little doorbell button at the moment where you press the button and it announces on your Alexa someone at the door, and then it sends you a text message. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to do Node Red, and then I found it's just as easy to do it in the automation system.
Yeah, through the UI or through YAML?
Just through UI. Yeah, I've done a bit of YAML. I haven't played much with YAML. So the weather station integration has got a YAML coding component, but I haven't done much. I'm not a coder, whereas I do understand graphical user interfaces. So the Node-RED for me is pretty cool and it's so flexible. Eh?
Yeah.
Would you say like most of your automations go through Node-RED?
No, one or two. Most of them are just normal automations in the UI.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you think so? When you started with Home Assistant, had they done like the automation builder in the UI?
Yeah.
And do you think that was a selling point for you, or would you have not? Like, would you have gone another system had you not needed that? Like,
I'm assuming you had Node-RED at that stage. Yeah, so Node-RED would have been the route I would have gone, because I used to work for a CRM company years ago where they had called Pivotal. It's actually from Canada, and they had the most amazing graphical workflow tool where you could build forms and then all these huge automations just on graphical. So having used that, when I saw Node-RED, it was awesome because it just sort of came across to me easily.
Because we usually get people on the podcast that have been like hardcore Home Assistant users for, like since the 0 days, right? And they're like, no, we need YAML, must be like all my automations are in YAML. So you've come on since, the automation UI builder was there. And I guess this is one of the points I guess the Home Assistant people have been making is that, we need to make it more accessible to people that don't just want to use YAML, right? And there was always Node-RED, but Node-RED's always a bit, I need to, I can't use Node-RED. I find it frustrating.
All right. It is a bit, I would say.
Pulling wires and.
Yeah, it's not easy. But once you get it, it's quite powerful.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And it's cool to see it stepping through the different stage processes, and that just makes it easy to debug.
Yeah. Although the UI debugger now is being pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is cool, eh?
As long as you've got an ID against your automation, even if it's in YAML, and being able to see the steps, why didn't this automation execute? Because it's gone around here. Pretty powerful.
My wife asked me to do an automation, but it's quite a tricky one, which is to open the door for the dogs to go out. So
wow.
Yeah, so when we were at home, she'd like me to open the door, let them go and have a toilet stop, and then call them back with the Alexa and get them back inside. So I actually found there are some door activation devices you can buy off Ali. But so it's a big project, but it would be really cool.
Yeah.
So you haven't done this yet? Or
I haven't done it yet,
planning?
No.
How would you... So which door, like have you got a dog flap or something that would need to open, or are you going to open the whole door? Or?
It would have to be the whole door. So there is actually a door activator you can buy from Aliexpress, one of the vendors there, but there were no reviews or anything on it. So I must admit I've actually had really good response from Ali. I've had one dud deal, but other than that, it's been really good. So it would be a whole opening door like that. And so that'd be pretty cool. I also wouldn't mind doing some curtain and blind automation. That looks cool, but it's expensive, eh? Like those curtain motors about $300 plus with the track and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The curtains get. I know. I've got some blinds. Same thing with them off AliExpress. Some semi-smart blinds. So the roller tubes. So they put a motor inside the roller tube. I actually got, because I had a few blinds. I think they were like, with the solar panel, they're like 150 Australian dollars or something like that. Yeah. Right? Not cheap, but better than spending $1,000
with the blind too, right?
No. That's just the motor. Sorry.
Oh, just the motor. Okay.
So I already got the blinds. I don't need to buy new blinds, right? So I may as well just put a motor in them. So I bought them in like stages. First stage, I had one that was dead on arrival. I said, all right, that's fine. They sent me out a new one, a replacement, kept the old one. That's great. And then I ordered, 6 more or something like that to do the rest of the house. And about half of them were dead on arrival.
No.
And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, so sorry. They sent it up and they sent me a video of how to open up the product. And all it was a ribbon cable inside, wasn't plugged in. Yeah. It must be like a manufacturing default. I was able to plug the ribbon cable in, and sure enough, these units started working. So,
wow.
But yeah, it's like good deal. A good customer support at least. Lucky I was handy to, what I was doing when plug it back in. Bit finicky with the fingers, but that's okay. So I can recommend those. So Zemismart, I think, is there's Zigbee, right? So it's all local based.
Oh yeah, that's what you want.
And it's got a RF remote as well. So remotes can be in.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you're looking for Venetian blind, because right next to me I have three blinds. Doesn't really show on video, but I've got 3 Venetian blinds. So like the ones where you can twist and then you have a string, like a cord that you pull to open it up, right? So twist to kind of tilt the line and the cord to open it. And getting getting just devices to put in to get those automated, especially when you're like, because I don't have electrical outlets against this wall. And it is like, it's just stupid. I think it's $150 to $200 each.
Crazy.
Right? And I was like, and then tax, shipping, whatever on top of that. And I'm like, I'm not spending $600 to automate 3 $50 blinds, right? Yeah. Like it's ridiculous, but I listen, I'm not saying there's no cost. I'm not saying there's the R&D cost and there's the actual cost of the product too. But it's just like, oh my God, that's so expensive.
Yeah.
Right. And
I've got plantation shutters in my house, Rohan. I've talked to you. They're the absolute vein of my existence at the moment. My wife loves them and she doesn't want to change them. But automating them, right? There's one company, I think it's an Australian-based company, that did have a little motor that would stick onto a blind and open and close it. But they have since stopped selling the product or are out of business, maybe because of the pandemic. And even then, I calculated the cost. It's going to cost me like $3,000 to do all the blinds in. So may as well just buy new window coverings at that point, right?
Well, exactly. At that point, it's cheaper for you to get a contractor and get cable run up there and do that bit, right? It's I don't know. It's a little crazy. I mean, I get it. You're paying for the convenience. You're paying for their capital costs too, but it's also
moving parts, I guess. Like generally, like motion sensors, there's nothing moving too much. Where here you got motors and things that can wear and tear,
battery, blah blah blah. Yeah.
But yes, Windows coverings are a very big topic in home automation space, right?
It's a great automation, I reckon, to have. Opening and closing.
Those plantation shutters, I hate opening and closing them every day. every other blind I just love watching going up and down themselves, right? It's the best.
So one other thing that I'm just busy doing is quite a lot of people have said to me that they didn't get into Home Assistant because they're scared of going down the Raspberry Pi route and, they feel it's too much for them. So I'm actually putting together a really simple step-by-step video explaining to people with absolutely every step shown how to get it up and running on a Pi.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say,
awesome.
Probably a good time to sort of wrap it up. But yeah, Simon, you have just started a YouTube channel as well, where you're documenting all your home automation journey, I'm guessing. So we're going to see how Frigate goes. We'll find a video update when you get your Google Coral, no doubt.
Yeah,
that's right.
So we're going to leave links to that, of course, in the show notes. What are you planning? What's your next video going to plan to do?
Well, this is the one that I'm busy doing at the moment.
Nice.
Is a super simple installation guide on Raspberry Pi.
Yep.
So that someone that's got no IT experience at all can basically follow step by step. And I'm doing a little bit more slowly. A lot of the explainer videos are quite fast and sort of I'm doing absolutely very step by step. So I'm hoping that's going to build a community, that more people get involved.
Nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can never have too many instructional videos out there, right? And with Home Assistant changing as much as it is, a good 2022 version will be well needed, I think.
Yeah. So that'll be uploaded shortly. And then, there's heaps of other. Then I'm going to start with basic products that you want to buy, because I've been down the route of buying all the tier stuff and then it's just frustrating. So I want to start with, Shelly 1. This is what you can do with it.
Yeah.
The Atom stuff, that's really cool. Going down the Zigbee route, just step by step, building up a system.
Nice one. Well, we'll leave links in the show notes to the YouTube video, the YouTube channel. By the time this podcast comes out, they'll probably have that video out. So, check it out. Simon, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been awesome chatting to you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
If you want to share your Home Assistant journey or come on as a guest, reach out to us at feedback@hasspodcast.io. That's HASS podcast.io.
The Home Assistant Podcast is hosted by Phil Hawthorne and myself, Rohan Karamandi. For links to topics we discussed today, check out our show notes on hasspodcast.io.